Hi, I am Uriarte. I'm a neurology specialist in veterinary medicine.
Hi, I'm Joao Loureiro. I'm a veterinary cardiology specialist.
This is to vet or not to vet.
What is your question?
So what's the question tonight? What are we going to be talking about? What do you think?
I think the question today, because I think a lot of people will be interested in this, is what's the fuss about being a specialist? Why is it good to be a specialist? Is it important to be a specialist? So, what's the fuss?
I think that maybe the first question I will think and I will say, what is it to be a specialist, or what do we call it to be a specialist? Because different countries have different names, different laws, and there is a lot of, in central countries, everyone can call themselves a specialist, and I guess not even in veterinary world, in every world. At the moment, let's kind of stick to the rules. There are two colleges that are recognizing veterinary specialists, the European College and the American College, which to become a specialist of one of these colleges, you need to have a general internship, sometimes a specialty internship after finishing your vet school, and then having a 3-year program minimum in a specialty center where you only do your specialty. And after that, you sit an exam, you pass the exam, and then you become a specialist of that specialty. And in certain colleges, every 5 years, you need to prove that you are working full-time in that specialty, that you keep publishing, that you keep active. So when Joao and we talk about being a specialist, we are both part of the European College of our specialties. Not everyone can access to this, so we will talk a lot about how you can get to be a specialist at European or American College. But yeah, what is such a fuss? Why do we say that we are a specialist? Why do you say that you're a specialist from the European College and you just don't say, I'm a specialist in cardiology? Why do you think that is important, what you have done to be a specialist of the European College versus being in Portugal and calling yourself a specialist in cardiology, for example?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting point. And just for cardiology, the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons also has a diploma. So they also are one of the colleges that create specialty for
which is the British,
for cardiology,
which is the English college,
which is the English one, yeah, with the Royal College. So, but you're right, the main ones are the European and the American College, and the title of an ECVm specialist is a trademark. So it is, you cannot use it unless you've gone through the process like you explained. So the internship, and then the training residency, and then passing the 2 exams. We, at least in internal medicine cardiology, we have 2 exams, the general exam, and then the certifying one in the end of your training. And then, like you say, the 5 years of making sure that you do enough work. And so I suppose it is a trademark. So you can only use that word specialist. And there are people in the world that have a lot of experience, but if they haven't been through this process, they will not be able to call themselves an European specialist. So I think for me, European was obvious just because I trained in Europe and I wanted to be, but a lot of people train in Europe and end up doing the American college. And it's just the requirements are a little bit different. So I know that the European College, at least ours, the internal medicine, requires a bit more internal medicine exposure than the American College. The people that go through the American training probably do a little bit more cardiology, and then because we spend a little bit of time with internal medicine, and we in the European College believe that that is important for you to be a good cardiologist. And I think the exam process is a little bit different in the American College, but they are accredited, so they are recognized mutually as, if you're an ECVm, an American college specialist or a European college specialist, the vast majority of institutions will recognize that as someone that can do specialty work. So they can do referral work, and you would expect them to do the higher level care of that specialty. And I suppose that's the reason why you become a specialist, is so that you are prepared to do the highest level of that specialty, no?
But do you think, because I am sure that, well, there is, you know, that how the colleges started, it was just a group of people that they have a lot of experience in that specialty, and they were called the de facto diplomats. So a group of people that they knew each other, they say, we're very good, we have been studying in our own house, our own time, we know a lot about it, and now we're going to create a college, and we're going to try to standardize the learning process. But a lot of people, and you hear still, certain, especially in certain countries, well, that person is as good as a specialist, but he doesn't have the diploma.
Yes.
And there is a lot of people, obviously, that they have extremely, they're super good, they have a lot of experience, and doesn't mean that because they don't have the diploma, European or American, they are not good. Absolutely not. But I think that it's important that we recognize what does it give you to go through the program of a European or American accredited residency, because to me, that is something that not a lot of people recognize. I think that it's important to recognize too that experience is experience. It doesn't matter that you have a diploma of the American or the European college. If you finish your residency at 30, 35 years old, you have non-experience whatsoever. It doesn't matter if you have the diploma or not. The diploma, it comes with age, with seeing cases. So you can also have a diploma and never become a very good experienced clinician. But I think that a person that has gone through a residency program, it has base knowledge that is important to recognize. So what do you think that makes your residency, your training as a European cardiologist, the difference between if you just study in Portugal and you like cardiology, you knew that you understood it well, and you could have keep learning in your own time with your books, reading. What is it that you think that is important?
So I have a strong involvement with the training, not so much with the training. You have a lot more with training than I do, but I have a strong involvement with the certification because I am the chief examiner for the cardiology specialty. And I think the key word for your question is peer. So you learn from your peers, you discuss with your peers, you get a training that is done by someone else that has gone through that process. And that maintains a certain level of quality, I suppose, that you do not achieve on your own. I mean, you could be absolutely phenomenal, brilliant, and you are one of those individuals that just has a better ability than anyone else. And absolutely, you could be better than any specialist that received the training. But the recipient of a training, by the time that they've gone through the process, and then this is where I'm heavily involved with the examination, we will then evaluate that acquisition of knowledge. And if you then prove that you have acquired that knowledge, and you've acquired that knowledge by your own work, by studying, but also by going through what it is generally 5 years of being with someone with a higher level of experience than you, providing you with a lot of information, with a lot of cases, with the way that they handle the cases. I think if you then, in the end of that process, if you pass the exam, then you have been trained to become a specialist. And like you say, I completely agree with you. The first few years after your diploma, you're probably not yet really the specialist that you're going to become. You need a few years working with all that you have learned all over that 5 years of training. And after you've studied the amount that you need to study to pass the certifying exam, and after you mature that knowledge, after a few years, then you probably be the best
you could be
specialist that you will ever be. Absolutely. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Because I think the training and having other people next to you that keep on doing it, been doing it for 10 years, and they challenge you, they ask you, they make you read the articles. Otherwise, I mean, it's almost, I felt that when I worked as a vet by myself. It's confirmational bias. I knew the stuff that I knew, and then I didn't really want to know the stuff that I didn't know. And so I think it requires a lot of work to achieve the level of training that you get from a residency by yourself. I think it's almost impossible. I would say, I would go as far as to say that it is impossible.
I think that also for me, a very important question and key thing is the exam at the end of the residency and the requirements that you need to do to sit that exam. So the requirements in every college is different, but most of the colleges you need to publish. And I mean, it is important when you're a specialist, when you are dedicated to specialty, that obviously you read, but you also contribute to science. And contributing and writing an article, a paper, a research can be difficult and push you, and it pushes the boundaries and make you read things differently and make you work differently, because you know that you're going to be accountable of what you are producing. You cannot just randomly take 2 cases that you thought that they are fun. You need to publish. It needs to be a pre-review publication that is going to be reviewed by your peers, and they're going to criticize you, they're going to tell you, and it's not easy. So there is a lot of things that are challenging, and when you obviously need to study for the exam, but you also need to pass the exam. And the exam is not just to test your knowledge, it's also to test if you're ready to be a specialist, if you're ready to take that decisions, and to once you have digested the knowledge, if you're going to be able to put them in a clinical world. So there's definitely that achievement at the end. And I speaking with human specialists that they don't have the exam at the end, they have the exam usually at the beginning, right, of the study. And they were like, wow, that's kind of, is tough, that, and then every 5 years, someone is going to be checking on that you are doing what you need to be do to keep on with your specialty. So I think that that is what is the fuss about being a specialist. And there isn't a structure, and we will talk in one of these other videos how we can choose for a good residency, what you can get from different residencies, and what is important, what is not important. But as you said, in any residency, you're going to be learning from your peers, and you need to be surrounded by other specialties. Otherwise, your residency will not be accepted by the college. So the college has requirements that even the worst residency in the world is going to be much better than to be alone in your little corner, reading things, no? That is structure, that clinical thinking, that process, I found many times comparing with people that they've done the specialty for many years and they know a lot of times they may be lacking a little bit that structure that you go through when you study through the residency.
And when you have someone else checking your work. So I couldn't agree more with you. And also, and this is something that I struggle as as the examiner in the end of the process, is that there's a massive role of your training. Okay, so exactly what you are saying about how do you handle a case, that is probably primarily checked by your training, is the 3 years working under someone that kind of go, Anne, you need to do this before you do an MRI. So do you see what I mean? And the point that you were raising about the publication is something that's quite interesting, because I think some of us are more clinicians, and some people may say, look, I actually don't want to publish. I myself, I don't find publishing easy. I'm more of a clinician, I think, and I feel very comfortable with being a specialist that's mainly a clinician, because being a specialist, there's so much more. There's research, layers, like you said, absolutely. There's training of other people. There is research. There is publishing. There is reviewing other papers, other people's work. Massive role as a specialist that you need to have. And there is the clinical work that obviously I feel strongly, because that's what I like to do. But I think the training that you receive is absolutely crucial. And in the end of a residency, as you know, your mentor or the program director writes a letter to the college to say that this candidate has received and absorbed the training that we would want it to produce. And then the examination, and it's questionable. How can an exam in the end of the 5 years really decide if you're, do you mean it's really, and we questioned ourselves as examiners, but it does test that you have read the literature that you need to. It does test that you read the background, the physiology, the pathophysiology, and something that as a clinician, you probably wouldn't feel driven to, because you're just dealing with your cases, but it then shapes you and shapes the work that you do and the way that you teach other people, because you have that physiology, that part of physiology that we, the exam, force you to read. And it's heavy. I mean, I never studied as hard as I did for my examination. And I know you probably would say the same, no, Annie?
Yeah, no, and I think that is a little bit kind of the sensitivity and sensibility. So you said it's a trademark. So if you want to play in the Australian Open, you need to be vaccinated. So if you
we're not going to do religion, and we're not going to do politics, but that one I'm happy with.
But if you want to have a trademark of being a specialist, you need to pass and sit the exam. Another big question obviously is how you evaluate. We all learn differently, and but it's true that usually they are very big exams. They are long exams. They are 2-3 days exams. There is a lot of things that they are tested at, and I've never been very good with exams, and I didn't pass the exam the first time. But
neither did I. So
it is the whole thing. Doesn't mean that because you never pass the exam, you're not gonna be a good specialist. I have no idea. Probably it is not related, but indeed, sitting and passing that exam, it means that you have certain checklist. So it is your letter of presentation. It is a big letter.
But we question that constantly as examiners. And there's even a question, Annie, exactly like you say, in human medicine, you don't have a win all, lose all examination. And this is very important after your training. So you fail the exam, and then what you do? Your training is done. Sorry, thank you very much. And that is questionable. You're absolutely right. But it is the structure that we have now. And we are considering other structures, a more progressive examination throughout the training. And as you know, which would be the ideal, wouldn't it? But as you know, above all of our veterinary colleges, there is the European Board of Veterinary Specialists, the ECVs, which is the institution that oversees all of us as a specialty and tries to create, tries to pair them a little bit and make sure that we are doing something similar, which hopefully will be the best. But there is a strong question about, is the end of training examination the best way to evaluate? I don't believe that it is. I believe that you are better evaluated by the 5 years of training that you receive. What we can assure with the examination, and that's what we as examiners try extremely hard to achieve, is that the exam reflects the knowledge that you would expect. And this is a key point to the minimally qualified specialist. So when you finish your training, you're not supposed to be ane Uriarte. You require years of working in that specialty to become someone as experienced as you. But you want them to have the minimal knowledge, the minimal ability to be called a specialist. So we're not trying to, when you examine people, we're not trying to achieve someone with your experience. Absolutely not. That comes with time. But we are trying to achieve that someone has ticked the box. They've read all the books. They had all the 5 years of papers, and they have a good understanding of that. They read the physiology, pathophysiology, and they're exposed to higher quality training that will then allow them to answer questions of the type of cases that you would expect a specialist to see. And this came from a very, very interesting work done by one of the chief examiners and a personal friend, Simon Dennis, which was a task force, a job task analysis, which is basically, we asked all the European specialists in veterinary cardiology, what do they do? Where do you spend your time? And what we try to do is obviously make the exam representative of that. Or at least create that starting point. But I mean, do I think that all specialists are great vets? I don't think we can say that. Do I think that all vets that are not specialists are bad vets? Absolutely, categorically not.
No.
Because experience comes a lot, and there's a lot of talented people, and they just didn't go through the process. What the process allows you to have is a stamp of, you've been accredited by this institution, that has been evaluating specialists for a long period of time.
And the reality, like I don't just want to kind of how do you say in English when you just kind of in French is brosser dans les sons les poils, dans les sons des poils. Like kind of going on everyone way, but I've met a lot of new diplomats, and I will say, if not all the new diplomats that I've met or finished the residency, they all have an excellent level of neurology.
True.
And I cannot say the same from everyone that has been doing neurology for many years.
Of course.
It's very variable. There's been people that they've been doing neurology for many years and they are very good. And they've been doing neurology for many years. And unfortunately, they've been doing bad neurology for many years. But I've met residents from a lot of different institutions, a lot of different countries. And as you said, some people have more experience, some people have less experience, some people are better clinicians, some people they don't have maybe that good clinical sense, some others are better at writing, but there is continuity and there is a consistency that that people that finish the residency, doesn't matter where, they're going to be able to do a certain minimal type of job. And I'm not talking about knowing how to do a hemilaminectomy or no, just how to work up a case in a way that makes sense.
And that is a testament to the training that the college is indeed providing. And that is the reason why we want to be part of these colleges, because we believe that the people that come out of our training programs, they come out with that level that you are describing, with that ability. And this is peer. I mean, we learn from other people. I mean, and I suppose I'm sure we will talk about this in the future. Will be what makes a good program. And one of the things that I like is a program that is driven by several people, because I would learn something from you and I would learn something from another neurologist. Some people are better with surgery. Some are better with their interpretation of the MRI. In cardiology, it would be the same. Some people are extraordinary at ECGs. Some people are great with their echoes. Some people are great with their interventions. And having a variety of people that are training you will probably be one of the most enriching things that you could do.
No, definitely. And the problem, I guess, that what is then there's another kind of big question that, again, we could talk another time too, but there is only two colleges, which is the European College and the American College.
Does the Royal College doesn't do neurology? No, you don't have. No. We have for cardiology, we have three. Good question, but I interrupted.
But do you? Well, I'm not going to get into that. But there is, for example, the big question about obviously Asia and Latin America and Africa. What happened with them? Because we needed to move countries, but we still are European. So we had a passport to go and have a European college. And then you have these countries that they will also need to develop a college. Probably held by the American or the European College, where they are residencies that they kind of start to take form and have a shape, and then you have a committee, and then you have a training force to be really able to produce consistent diplomats all around the world. And there is this consistency. Because I think that there is probably a lot of, and that's what I'm saying about what is the fuss about the specialist. And I can understand a lot of people from countries where they absolutely do not have the possibility to have a diploma like that. And then what happens there? How do you build up a system like this? How do you build up a college? How do you start training people with a certain, requirements?
Consistency. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very difficult question. I think because neither you or I were, like you said, in the early stages of the college, we were not de facto specialists. So we both sat our exams. We were first generation kind of exam seekers, I would think. No, probably, or first, second, third. No, I don't think I had many years before me where people got a lot of sitting the exam. So
it's not 10 years. No,
it's not. Yeah, that's right. And so I think at the time, the way that things were created is that, yes, there was a willingness to create a certification, and people were given de facto if they showed that they were eminent figures on that speciality, and that would be through publications and through work that they have done. And then you create then a college, a group of peers that will then start evaluating and training other people. So I think that's the only way that will happen anywhere else, as it happened in America and as it happened in Europe. I know that the European College got a lot of help from the American College. Yeah. Because I think they started before. So I think, and you're absolutely right. So what happens to those countries that they don't have the option to become specialists? I think someone has to start. And I think in the European College, and certainly that's my experience in Portugal, the professors, the teachers in the university will probably be the better group of people, because they are involved in training, and because hopefully they will be doing the speciality of their choice to the highest level in that country, in that region. So they would be potentially the best group to start creating a college and initiating a training of specialists. That's what I would assume. No.
No. And the thing also, what I think is important to remember, that all these people that they are in the colleges, they do all this work for free. Like, yes. You are working like mad for free. Everyone that creates, that organize the meetings, so does the exam, prepare the exam, is there for the exam, do all the credentials. Everyone is working for free. So it's people that they just want to improve the specialty in their countries.
Yeah, and you want to give it back, and you want to give it back, don't you? Yeah, you want to give it back. You want to give it back to an institution that you were welcomed in, and that I feel and has allowed me to do what I'm passionate about, and I feel very, very lucky. So in a way, yeah, it's giving back a little bit. But you're absolutely right; it's a lot of work, and it doesn't get paid. But that is also another question. But that's something that we'll discuss at different times. That where are these colleges going, and is there a requirement for it to become a bit more professionalized? And maybe yes, because I mean, there's a lot of stake. There's a lot of stake in these cases, and you can expect a certain level of work. If someone are just doing the best that they can, you could expect a different level of work if they're actually employed to do it. Yeah. But that's something else. Yeah.
Okay, I think that
do you get a lot of
Sorry,
perfect.
No, tell me.
No, I'm wondering if you get a lot of people asking how can they become specialists? What can they do? Do you get a lot? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So maybe we can do that another day, don't you think?
No, I think that definitely we need to do another video with how
the
what
route.
We need to be a specialist and what are the options, and I think that is a very, very good one. So yeah, guys, if you want any other questions, any comments, anything that you would like us to develop from what we talk, we get hopefully we didn't get too political. We want to create some controversy also. We're not going to be only saying just the things that just kind of being neutral with everything.
We're being real. We're talking about the stuff that concerns us and obviously, and that we discuss a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah. So see you guys. This is to vet or not to vet. And
what is your question?
See you soon.
Bye. Bye.